Hi, welcome to SoCali's Wrestling, home of the independent wrestling in the U.S. and outside the country. So today we have the brute force, the almighty like Thor, the Norse god Alexander Hammerstone.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Pretty good, you Hammerstone?
I'm doing good. Just finished a workout, so I'm feeling good.
Are you at the gym right now? It seems like it.
No. This is actually my weird bedroom, so I'm home.
Because before we talked about you were doing a two-time workout, like you did one in the morning and then you can do one later today.
Yeah, I mean it's usually how it goes. I mean weekends tend to change because I'm usually got bookings. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be heading out early in the morning for California, so it always changes. But spend as much time as I can in the gym or in the ring or wherever I can get something physical done.
Yeah. Is that the reason of like doing two times a day to keep yourself big or like to keep yourself active? What's the purpose for you
You
doing
know
it?
what? You want to be the best athlete. You know, like one workout will be more for strength and size, and then another one would be more cardio based, so applicable for the ring, or even just going in the ring and rolling around and stuff like that. But also, it just comes down to me being a weirdo and being addicted to the gym and not having anything better to do. So there's that too.
So, Hamster, what made you want to be a independent wrestler or just a wrestler? Period?
Well, wrestling is something I loved wrestling my whole life. I guess kind of generic answer there. Since I could remember, I remember playing wrestling on my mom's bed and with my brother and pretending we were doing the Royal Rumble and stuff like that. So I always wanted to do it. I just it kind of just seemed a little bit too big of a dream. Like all through high school, I was like really skinny and played in rock bands and stuff. Um, but pretty much just I decided one day like what the hell, like I'm stop talking about it and do it. But I knew I was too small, so I started working out and really started hitting the gym and got into bodybuilding and powerlifting kind of as a prerequisite to get into wrestling. And then I was still always saying, I'm too small, but someday I'm going to wrestle. I'm too small, but someday I'm going to wrestle. And then one day, finally, somebody was just like, you know what? You're pretty big. You might as well go ahead and do it already and shut up. And so, pretty much the next week, I had my first class, and there was just no turning back.
Did you have like a second choice if wrestling wasn't your forte? It's like, well, I'm going to go to college, do football or basketball, or
No,
do.
well, I was I was not really an athlete. Like, I wasn't very athletically gifted or anything. Like, getting into pro wrestling in that sense was actually really difficult for me because I wasn't really a natural. I succeeded because I was stubborn and worked really hard at it for a long time. But any kind of second choice was just academics. I was very always got good grades through school and had academic scholarships all over the place, and was going to college for free and dropped out to pursue this dream. So that's where I'm at now.
How do your parents feel? It's like you have all these scholarships you've been offered to for colleges, and then you just like dropped out and just become a wrestler.
Well, for my dad, he was kind of the one who influenced me to do that. He kind of I had a talk with him where, when I was about, 19 years old, and he pretty much just hit me with, you never know when you're not going to be able to pursue your dreams, so you might as well go for it when you can. Um, at first, a lot of my family, at first, it was strange. It was like, what do you think you're doing? No, you shouldn't be doing that. A lot of people, my mom was mad at first. My brother thought I was stupid, and even for the first while, it's like, they see pictures of you training in this ring that looks kind of crappy, and the first shows you do are like in front of 60 people and you're not making any money and it seems like a big joke, and then it starts being like, whoa, you wrestled in front of a couple hundred people. Hey, you wrestled on TV. Hey, I saw you on WWE. Hey, you're out of the country, and it just starts becoming these things and starts becoming more real. And in the last couple of years, my whole family has become extremely supportive of it because I think they just realized that I'm putting the same amount of work into wrestling as if I was going to school to get a degree in whatever I was going to get. And I think that's a problem. That's a mistake a lot of people make. It's like they think wrestling it's so hard to have success, which I mean it kind of is, but it's not complicated. It's simple. It's just hard. But if you were going to go pursue a degree in college, pursue a sport in college, you have to work your ass off to get there. And it's just the same thing in wrestling. If you treat this like it's a job, if you treat this like it's your life, you're going to be successful. It's like I said, I follow a strict diet. I work out 2 times a day. I study wrestling all the time. I'm always on the road. I'm going to seminars. I'm learning from everybody I can. If you treat it like that, you're going to have success. And that's pretty much what I've done. So I think the people around me see the work I'm putting into it and become supportive.
And it, for your expecting to become a wrestler, was it the drive of being like a fighter, or the money, or like entertaining the crowd? Like what?
I think I've just always been like a performer, and like I said, I used to play in bands, and then I got into bodybuilding. I liked being on stage. I liked being like the goofy, funny guy with my friends. So it's kind of combines those things. I like to talk. I like people to listen. I like to show off what I can do athletically. I like to perform. Um, at the end of the day, like this is a business, and yeah, I'm in it to get to the top and make some money and like have my work pay off. Like I love wrestling, but I don't want to do it for free. I do want to be rewarded because I've put in the work. I put work into it that needs to be paid back to me because that's the mentality that I have coming into it. But at the same time, I didn't get into it like, hey, I think I could get rich doing this. I got into it because I do love it and I do love performing, and it's like I said, it's one of those things that I always loved, and now to have the chance to give that back to people is really great.
And is it hard to, like, for you as an indie wrestler? Is it hard to get booked?
It's one of those things that when you first get into it, it is difficult at first because you're getting your name out, and that's the thing I think a lot of people are too stubborn about is I see like Facebook posts about some guy I've never heard of making a post saying like, oh, it's bullcrap if a promoter thinks he's going to pay me $50 to drive 4 hours to do a show, and I'm like, what? Like I've driven 10 hours to get paid $20, and people hear that and they're like, well, that's stupid. And I'm like, well, when before you have a name for yourself, who are you? Like, yeah, okay, Hammerstone I was built, I was a good looking wrestler, but who was I? Nobody knew who I was when I started. So I went everywhere I could. I was always in the road. Joe Graves and I have been we've spent 4 days at a time in a car together with no hotels because we didn't have enough money to just sleep into the car, hitting the gym, and wrestling shows anywhere we could. You know what I mean? And after you put in that work, after you're willing to pay those dues, and if you're putting in the work that you're supposed to, you're going to show up to these places, you're going to do your job, and you're going to be asked back. And you're going to make an impression on someone who wants to see you somewhere else. So at this point, the wheel kind of turns by itself. Like I still reach out, I still try to put my stuff out there, but I'm not knocking on everyone's doors, begging for bookings anymore. It's at this point, it's a little bit easier because I have put in like some work, and I do get people that either regularly book me for their shows or new people who want to see me at a show. So it's difficult in the beginning. It's difficult getting started because you have to be willing to lose some money. You have to be willing to lose some sleep. You have to be willing to, do some stuff that's going to suck. It's not fun driving 10 hours and being told you have to work a 6-minute match, and get paid, half amount of the gas you paid to get there. But if you're willing to do that and you do it right, you do it well, and you put in the work, that's going to turn into more money. It's going to turn into more exposure. It's going to turn into stuff down the road.
Was there a time in your life like you kind of felt like regrets, like I'm driving, like you were saying you drove very long distance just to go get paid for $20 for a 6 minute show? It's like, do you regret that?
Like at this, like where I'm at right now, I don't regret anything because like to go into a locker room, to go into locker rooms across the country and have respect for my peers, like that's priceless. That's something that means a lot to me, and that's something that I was told in the beginning. Like it's one thing to have your boys like you in your hometown, but to go, to fly across the country or to go, drive all over the place and have people respect you in a locker room, that means a lot. So I don't regret anything. Like I'm grateful that I've done all those things. I'm proud that I did all those things. Um, but yeah, like when you're first doing some of the stuff you have to do, like that self doubt creeps in, and I think that's where, a lot of people realize that they're not cut out for this, that they don't want to do those things, and then they never do. But some of them keep wrestling. That they'll keep wrestling for their crappy little hometown half backyard fed, making $20, and that's where the bad side of the business comes from. It's the people that see how much work this is, but aren't willing to do it, but for some reason still want to be part of it, you know? So I don't regret anything. At times coming up, it was really hard, but that's what it's just supposed to be really hard. Wrestling is supposed to be difficult.
And then you kind of reach the outcome, and then with the outcome you receive, you get something great at it. Like right now, you're working for another promotion, like what's it called? CHFF, CHWF.
WFH.
There you go. Which you're gonna be wrestling Ryan Taylor, and I heard from your Instagram like you're kind of excited to fight him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when I first started, a lot of the guys that were people that I looked up to, and that were people that wow, this guy's really good, and I'd watch their stuff. In the last year, I've been just wrestling those guys and wrestling those guys. To have matches against these people. It just shows that in a promoter's eyes that I've worked up to that level. And it's a really cool feeling. So it's like make your idols your peers, and when I first started, a lot of the guys that I've got the opportunity to step in the ring with were guys that I looked up to. And now to be standing across the ring from them and getting their respect and going out there and having good matches that the fans enjoy, it's like, yeah, that's the ultimate payoff.
And who were the wrestlers you kind of followed when you were as a kid, and then also right now as an adult?
It's that's a very hard question to answer, just because I've once like love the WWE, obviously, growing up and all that. But as soon as I started training, like I really didn't know indie wrestling. Like I didn't almost paid attention to none of it when I first started. And my trainer, he was like, you need to do this. He gave me a couple DVDs, and then it was just YouTube. And I'm the type of guy who's a fan of everything. I don't watch different styles of wrestling and oh, this is garbage, that's bad, this is bad. There's something to take away from everything. So there's guys in all over the world, there's guys in all kinds of different companies and all kinds of different styles that I look up to. And I think to be a successful wrestler these days, to be a real student of the game, you have to be that way. If you're going to watch certain styles of wrestling and say, oh, this is boring, or that style's too dangerous, or this style is too fast paced, they're doing too much spots, like you have to be able to watch all those different styles and appreciate what the good things, and be able to take something away and something from everything.
And then you kind of mentioned earlier, like certain wrestlers that you see on YouTube and you kind of study. But is there wrestlers you really want to wrestle one day in the ring?
Well, it's funny because there's a couple of them that I was I think earlier this year, like I made a post and was talking about 5 different guys, like, hey, book these 5 matches this year. And I think or maybe it was a podcast that I said it. But one of those guys was Douglas James, who I got booked. I'm going to be wrestling him in July at Premiere. One of those guys was Jeff Cobb, who I just had a great match with a couple weeks back at APW. One of those guys was Tito Escondido, who looks like I'm going to be getting a shot to wrestle him soon over at Hollywood. One of those guys was Brian Cage, which I'm still waiting for somebody to book that match, and so there's, I mean, and that's not it. It's like, working the PCW show a couple weeks back, and I'm just sitting and watching the monitor, and I'm like, all these guys are crazy talented. Like, Kevin Martinson is so good, and I want to wrestle that dude. Thatcher is so good. Scorpio Sky is so good. Like, all these guys, and I'm just imagining the matches that we could have together, and the stuff that just being in the ring with me is, or being in the ring with them is going to elevate myself. And so it's just like, there's, like I get down and I'll criticize, the wrestling scene because there's a lot of bad wrestling out there, but it's great to also realize that there's so much good wrestling. There's so much talent all up and down California. There's so much talent in Vegas and Arizona and just near vicinity to me, but that I still haven't got the chance to work with. So there's still plenty left on my bucket list of wrestling.
You're mentioning about Brian Cage, or they call him Machine, Lucha Underground. Like I kind of feel that's going to happen in PCW.
Who knows? I hope it does at some point. And that would be that'd be a great stage to wrestle him on, just because PCW is awesome. I've only been there once, but I loved every second of it. It was really professional. It really is a great show. That would be a great place to get to work in. But we've for a couple of years now, we end up in the same place at the same time, and it's like a question of, is this going to happen? But who knows? He's at the highest point in his career. Like, he's just, every time you think he's reached a new high, he's going a little bit higher. He's on fire right now. He's killing it. So, it'd be great to get in the ring with him. It's funny because a lot of places I go, people, talk about how I'm a muscular guy or a body guy wrestler, one of the bigger guys. And then I stand next to Cage and he completely takes that away from me. So it'd be interesting because it'd be a whole new game plan. Wrestling a guy like that, I would be essentially, the small guy, and it'd just be a new challenge. You know what I mean? And I look forward to that. It's the same reason I look at guys like Kratos, and I want to wrestle a guy like Kratos, because it's going to be a challenge. I'd have to be completely different than any other match I've ever wrestled, because it brings me back to when I wrestled Cobb at APW. Jeff Cobb tossed me around like I have never experienced in my life. So it brings something different out of you, and it brings you have to bring new tools to the fight.
Let's see, and I want to do a quick shout out to PCW because they're doing so great. Like this is now they're in August, going to be their fourth show, bringing a lot of talented wrestling in one place in SoCal, which it's yeah PWG. PWG is Reseda, which is I can't say anything negative about it. Good things about PWG is that all the great talented wrestling, and then we need to get more in SoCal, like PCW, like with Mikey having, like you, and Graves and Kratos and Cobbs and Cage, all these talented wrestlers in one place. And then that was my first time seeing you in person. It's like I heard your name, but I never physically see you. It's like, who's this Alexander Hammerstone? When I saw you in Graves, which also Graves is your tag team partner, you kind of, I want to say, you kind of, one of the wrestling matches kind of stole that show.
Thank you very much.
I'm just saying it as a fan and also as a wrestling mark, as people like to say. But you guys had chemistry, and like you know when to hit it, not to hit, like how to get the interaction with the fans, and then
Well, yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's like that, like you brought up with PCW, like there's not like you could interchange any two roster members on that show and they're gonna have a great match. I got luck. I was happy, very happy to get to wrestle Graves. A lot of people thought, because we came up together and we've been all over the place together, that oh, you guys are gonna have an easy match because you guys have probably wrestled each other 1,000 times. And no, we haven't. Like, besides a couple goofy matches over with Freak Show, like Graves and I had almost never wrestled each other. I mean, obviously we know each other well, but we had no idea. I mean, I did know that we were gonna have a good match, just because Graves is one of the most underrated guys who's finally starting to get like the attention he deserves, because he's so good in the ring and he has such a unique style. And I I'm a very different style. I like to I'm a faster pace, a lot of moves, a lot of strikes, a lot of uh as Graves would call, I try to do some flippy shit. And he's like, let's take it to the mat, let's beat you up, let's wrestle. So
and,
the
and you guys didn't hold back either. We can actually see like physical contact.
yeah, and that it's that I wrestle everybody that I'm I like to wrestle everybody everybody and make it real. But with Graves, it was just kind of a, there was a sense of like, you know, even though he's my best friend, he's my tag team partner. There was that like story there of like, well, who's the better one, Because we go around every place, and some places it's like he gets a little bit more, popular. Some places I get a little more popular. So then to stand across the ring, it's like, yeah, let's see what you got. And there is that love, like to a degree, you have pride and you want to show who's the better man. So the story was just there with that match. Two tag team partners trying to one up each other with completely different styles. He was trying to hold me down. I was trying to speed up the match, and I think that's why it came across so well.
And then also with the fans, also like again, you brought reaction from the fans, and then you hear Thor versus what was it? Oh, I can't remember. From
Leonidas.
there we go. That's like wow. It's like they actually are into the match. Like you,
Yeah,
again, it's like you're. That's one of my favorite matches. And then you had Timothy Thatcher, which I kind of see that too. Seeing you for Timothy Thatcher, uh, probably in a future PCW show.
yeah. That's like I said, he's one of those guys who he's just incredible, completely different than what I do, completely different, and to a degree that's intimidating. Like I'm not going to pretend like I'm the greatest at everything. Like it's intimidating to wrestle, Cobb because he's stronger than me. It's intimidating to wrestle Graves or Thatcher because they can out wrestle me. Like it's intimidating to wrestle a Scorpio Sky because he's got so many moves and so much high flying arsenal. But at the same time, that's why I want to do it. I want to take on these challenges. I don't want to. I've never been a guy who wants to wrestle the same old guys in his hometown. It's like I want those guys. So you bring up a Thatcher. That guy could wrestle circles around me. Take me to the mat. I wouldn't even know what he's doing. But that's why it would be a fun match, just because he'd be trying to do that, and I would be working like hell to not let him. So there's just always so many new challenges out all over the place that I want to get a piece of.
Well, because you have the catch style wrestling, the jiu-jitsu with Graves brings, and then again the high flying from Scorpio Sky. It's like okay, then you want to mix that all together into Hammerstone. Like okay, you can handle that each different style of wrestling.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be able to do a little bit of everything, and I think that comes across. I try to always be able to hang with everybody a little bit with everything they could do, and that's just always the type of wrestler I wanted to be. I never looked at one guy and tried to mimic that. I watch everything. I try to always bring new stuff to the fight, and always try to keep learning something new.
Um, well, you kind of mentioned earlier about Cage, like he's being so successful. He's elevated more higher than you, but also like, do you want to do the same thing as Cage, being more elevated, be more successful, like going into other foreign lands, like wrestling in Mexico? Do you see yourself wrestling in other countries?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've wrestled in Mexico. I've also wrestled up in Canada, and both those are really good experiences. And I'm open to anything. Like if I got the opportunity to go to Japan, I'd take it in a heartbeat. If I got the opportunity to go to Europe, I'd take it in a heartbeat. Um, because it's just like I said, you're not going to get better if you just stay in one place and do the same thing over and over and over again. Like it's going to those new places. Like first of all, you want to build your name, you want to get your name out there, but you want to take those new challenges and you want to learn. Um, and anybody, it's the people that are afraid to take those chances, they're never going to get anywhere. So it's like, yeah, if I got an opportunity to do a month in Mexico for a good company and it was going to pay me well, I'd be down there. If I got the opportunity to go up, go over to Japan, I'd be over there. I want to do, I don't have a specific, destination goal in wrestling. Like yeah, um, WWE is a huge goal, obviously, but at the same time, there's so many other things that I'd like to do before I even got there, or so many other things that could end up being my end all be all. So I just want to do this. I want to be the best. I want to work the best and make some money.
And how long have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling about 5 years now.
And has WWE ever contacted you within those 5 years?
I mean, yeah, I don't want to talk too many details about it. But yeah, I've done work with them. I've done extra work with them. I've been out at the performance center in the past, which has always been incredible experience and a ton of learning, if nothing else. So yeah, I've been in touch with them, and I continue to stay in touch. But um, obviously, I'm not there right now. But who knows in the future? You know, that's definitely it's not. I'm not one of those guys who's saying, "Oh, I'd never want to work for WWE because this or that." I think anybody who says that is probably lying to themselves. So I definitely would be open to going there, but at the same time, if something else came along first and gave me a good opportunity, who knows?
Again, you were mentioning it's like, yeah, if they give you another opportunity, and it's like, well, if they give you that opportunity, it's like, well, I still need to figure out ha- Alexander Hammerstone. Like, how can I bring a, a character that people can bring a reaction to into WWE? And it's like, okay, he's a keeper instead of like, okay, he's a one-time trick pony.
Yeah, exactly. And wrestling is a lot of being at the right place at the right time and being what somebody needs at the right time. And that's where it does get frustrating, is because if this was football or MMA, it's like you win your fight, you become the best, you're the best. That's what you are. But in wrestling, the best is, there's a lot of opinion involved in that, and there's a lot, it's it's like I've been told before, like if I showed up at WWE's door and they go, "Well, you're great, but 2 months ago we signed a guy who's 6'2", 230 pounds, long blonde hair with a beard, who looks just like you," then they don't want me, and that's kind of the way it works sometimes. So yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not panicking about anything. I am trying to just get better and work, just keep getting out there and creating a character, creating a style that stands out, and just keep at this crazy grind.
And you're mentioning about your home state, Arizona. And it's like, is there a lot of wrestling in Arizona?
Um, there's Arizona wrestling has been pretty much dominated by one company for the last couple of years, and that's the Arizona Wrestling Federation. There's another company called RWA, Rockstar Wrestling Alliance, that has great shows too, but they only run about 4 or 6 times a year, depending. But I guess in the next couple months, there's supposed to be a handful of new wrestling companies popping up. Championship Wrestling from Arizona, uh, PHX, Phoenix Wrestling, a couple different things are supposed to be popping up. So we might go from kind of an untapped market to oversaturated really quick. And I'm kind of curious, because that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing, because it could be good if it brings, obviously more opportunities to work, but it could bring politics. It could, in a lot of places, want to create. Some people just want to create a place for the shitty wrestlers who can't get booked elsewhere to have a home, and that's when things could get messy. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of really good wrestlers and wrestling out here in Arizona. Um, there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and I wish get better. And that's why you might see on Facebook something about the AZ bullies. But um, yeah, we're gonna see. Arizona wrestling is gonna get interesting in the next couple months.
As I was gonna say, it's like only two promotions in Arizona. And it's like, is that the reason like you kind of go out of the state, like going wrestling in Vegas and
Yes,
California?
up 100%. Like, and I'd say there's only two companies, but there's not. There's more than that, but they're either lucha companies, which there's nothing wrong with that. Arizona's always going to have a lucha market. It's just not particularly for me. But then there's some other companies that I just don't even want to acknowledge, because they're not anywhere near what I think the standard of wrestling should be. And I think it's an insult to the business. But yeah, going like I can't stress enough. Like, there's so many people in Arizona who don't even try to travel. They don't care. They don't want to take the chance. They don't want to go out there. I think it's maybe that they're scared that they're going to fall flat on their face when they get in front of a new crowd where they're not babied. But who knows? Like, I don't know what exactly the reason is, but there's like, there's so much great wrestling surrounding us. Like, and to get better at this, like, you need to do it constantly. But yeah, there's only, if you're going to work once a month at your local show in Arizona, it's like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I haven't even wrestled in Arizona in over a month. It's just been all out of state dates, and sometimes I prefer it that way. And it's like, a lot of people don't understand, like, when we're like, well, I don't want to drive 12 hours to go work at APW or Premiere. And it's like, well, first of all, you probably couldn't get booked anyway. But second of all, it's like, last time I was up at APW, Marcus Mack, who runs it, was just, just telling us, hey, thank you guys. Thanks for making this drive. I'm sorry you had to drive so long. And we're just telling, no, you don't understand. Like, this level of wrestling is like, this is why we do it. And you don't, it's not that, I don't want to say Arizona wrestling is bad, but like, sometimes you just go to these other places and the level of professionalism, the level of athletes that they're bringing in is just such a high standard. And that's how I want it to be all the time. So I'm extremely thankful and grateful to get to go to these places. And I don't care how long I have to drive, because that's what wrestling is supposed to be. And that's wrestling up to the standard that I think it's supposed to be.
Will you take the opportunity to move out of Arizona, or there's more wrestling promotions that will consider booking you?
I mean, right now, I'm in a good spot. I got a lot of good stuff around me, and it's not like I have a hard time getting to it. And my wrestling schedule is full. Like, I, I've had like one weekend off in 2016. It's not. I'm having no trouble staying busy in wrestling. So honestly, if I was ever going to move with the idea of it being for wrestling, it's going to be out east somewhere. It's going to be on the East Coast or the Midwest, or somewhere where I could hit a completely new market and work with completely new people and build my brand in a whole new area. It's not going to be moving up to Vegas or moving over to California, because I'm already able to hit those markets being based in Arizona.
Is there like a certain company you want from the East Coast or the Midwest, like you want to wrestle? Like it kind of considers like a
There's
goal of yours?
there's I mean there's so many. Chase Stevens is doing the Arcadian Wrestling Association, which is like looking awesome and doing big things and doing wrestling right. Even just in Texas, there's a lot of companies that like I'd like to get to work for, but even Texas is a little bit far to drive. But out east, you got beyond wrestling, you got CZW, you got Evolve, you got ROH, you have all the big companies. It's like, yeah, I want to be part of all of that, but with being so far away from it, it's kind of hard to get into that door unless you're up there knocking on it.
So now we're talking about your wrestling career. Like, what do you do outside of the wrestling business? Like, again, you're doing bodybuilding, but then is there other things you do?
Well, I mean, the bodybuilding is like, to to clear this up. I'm not a bodybuilder who happens to wrestle. I'm a wrestler who happens to have done bodybuilding, because that was always just a segue into wrestling. So, really, there's not much to me. Like, a lot of people, will get on me and tell me I need to have more fun, but they don't understand. Like, my fun is being able to wrestle in front of 500 people, chanting my name, and be wrestling an opponent who's somebody that I respect. That's my fun. So training 2 times a day, following a strict diet, studying wrestling, that takes up a lot of time, so it's, I don't have too many hobbies. I like to, when I'm not wrestling, I have some downtime. I like to hang out and relax with my dogs. But I love training. I love watching wrestling. I love wrestling. I love when I get a chance to go down to the school, and even if it's just help train with the younger guys, I love that. That's what I love. So really, like, to say wrestling is my life isn't an exaggeration, because it really has become my life.
Basically, you were born to be a competitor, be a wrestler.
Yeah, I got a competitive drive in me that I always want to perform. I always want to compete. I always want to be pushing for something. I always want to be pushing for the next level. And yeah, this is my forum to get all that done.
And you have any more goals you want to set? Well, again, you want to wrestle in the East Coast. You wanted to compete in a WWE ring. Is there anything else? Well, and
Uh,
also go in Japan and Europe.
well, I mean, I think the with what you've listed, um, you've that's those are quite the things to tackle. That's going to take some time. So, other than that, it's just like in wrestling, you're always coming up with. You should always be coming up with new goals because once it was I want to work for this company, then it's like, well, hey, I want to be the champion of that company, or hey, it's always becoming new things. So with those goals you just listed, that's going to keep me busy for a while. And in the meantime, I just always want to be getting better. I just want to keep working with the best around, climbing the ladder and getting better. I never want to be looked at as someone lazy in the business or who you know disrespects it or doesn't care because I do, and I want everywhere I go to people. You could like me or love me or hate me, but at the end of the day, you have to respect that I'm putting work into this and I really care about this. I want that. That's my biggest goal.
You mentioned those kind of two keywords, love and hate. With well, you have the wrestlers, the bookers, and then fans. Like, do you get feedback or like any comments? Like, do you consider that it's like okay, if they tell me one thing, it's like I gotta do something better. It's like okay, I don't like what you did to missile kick. It's like okay, I missed drop kick. It's like you gotta do something. You gotta do it better. It's like oh, thank you.
Um,
Like thanks for the opinion. Like, do you really consider the opinion?
I am open ears to everybody. I think whether it's a vet who's 20 years in, whether it's the new wrestler who's 1 year in, or whether it's a fan who has never stepped in his life, even they sometimes could offer a credible opinion. But I like to surround myself with a lot of people who really know what they're doing. I surround myself with people who I know are better, who have been around, who have seen it all, and I can go to those people because those are the people you need to value. I don't. It's There's a lot of people who blow smoke up your ass, and there's a lot of people who like. When I came into the business, I looked like a wrestler. So people are like, oh, you're great. This is great. That's a great match. You're gonna be great. You're gonna be a champion. You're gonna make money. You're blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't care. Like I like the guy who goes, hey, that was a good match, but this and this was kind of crappy. Or hey, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? And it's like that's you have to be able to take that to get better. So I'm always listening, and to like even even that match with Graves that was very well received. I got so many people were telling me how great of a match that was, or people who never seen me before were adding me on Facebook to tell me like that. Wow, we became a fan of you that night, and you were one of our favorites, and all of that was great. And like I definitely appreciate hearing that, but at the same time, to have the one or two guys in the back who were able to pull me aside and say, hey, this is what could have been better about that. There's not a single cell in my body that gets mad when I hear that, because what you learn is, because I'm the same way. Like I see wrestling and I want to try to help someone improve. And there are people like the big joke in Arizona right now is that me, Graves, Dom, and Gallo are all bullies, because there's people who can't take that criticism. There's people who don't want to listen to that and don't want to do things right. And when you try to do something to help elevate them and put them where they should be in wrestling, they want to shut it out and say that's mean and I don't want to hear that and you're a bully. And if I thought everyone who ever criticized me was a bully, then I'd be nowhere right now. So those people, I appreciate and I respect advice from anyone who has to offer it.
Because again, it's like you were saying about the social media, like Facebook, Instagram, like having those, and also you get the comments from the fans. Like, oh, again, I was one of the fans, like commenting about your match of with you and Graves. It's like that was a great match, and then you got the haters, like giving the negative feedback. It's like, nah, that match was terrible, or not. It couldn't be that match. It could be some another match or for a different promotion. It's like, yeah, that was a terrible. Like he's the worst wrestler.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just there's a difference between criticism and an insult, and I don't really care about an insult because no, I've yet to be insulted by someone who I respect. Um, any fan who wants to say like I'm a crappy wrestler, like first of all, I don't really see that very often. Or actually, I can't remember last time I saw that, which it doesn't really mean anything. But even if I did, it wouldn't really matter to me, um, because wrestling fans, when they say stuff like that, it tends to come to a place of criticism of something besides your wrestling. They might be mad you didn't high five them or something, so now they say you suck at wrestling. Um, and the only time any boys in the business have sat there and said you suck, it's it's the same thing. It's an insult because they don't like me as a person. It has almost nothing to do with what I do in the ring because it's like I say, like I don't ever criticize somebody who is like just because I don't like their style or whatever. Like that's them. That's what they do. It's not what I want to do, but they're good at what they do. And it's like I know I'm good at what I do. I could be better at it, but what I've been able to do and the matches I have kind of speak for themselves. So I'm always open to criticism, but if you want to insult me, you could go and shove it because I don't really care.
All right. Well, Hammerstone, it's great having you within the podcast. Like, hey, this interview went great, smoothly. If just now the interviewer is going to watch this podcast, like, what, where can they follow you in your social medias, or what shows are you going to be coming up next? If it's Arizona or California or Nevada or what other states around the United States?
Let's see. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat are all Alex Hammerstone, one word. Um, I'm Alexander Hammerstone on Facebook. Definitely follow me. Um, let's see. Off the top of my head, I know I've got Hollywood tomorrow. I don't know if this is probably gonna be uploaded after that. So you could catch me versus Ryan Taylor on the Fight app. You could download the Fight app for free. Watch all the episodes of Hollywood. Um, I'm gonna be up in Premiere, up in Gilroy, wrestling Douglas James. I'm excited for that. I got a couple shows with Rockstar Wrestling Alliance coming up this month in Arizona. Um, FSW in Vegas, definitely give them. They're on the Fight app as well. You can go back and watch matches I had against Eli Drake, against Marcus Burke. So yeah, I'm just gonna be everywhere. Follow me on my social media, and I'll continually update it, post my schedule, keep you guys updated with wherever I'm gonna be because I'm gonna be everywhere I can get.
And then, you know what, Hammerstone, I have probably one goal here. That might be a concern to your goal. It's to see you compete in PCW for the PCW title.
That's a goal of mine for sure, and it's it's something that I came in and I lost my first match, and I'm not happy about that. Um, so I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to that level, whether it takes whether I don't know if they're gonna put me in the tournament this month, but whether I'm there or not, I'm gonna work there because every single company I've ever been in that I consistently work for on a regular basis, I have worked my way to the title picture. And if I haven't won their title, I have definitely given their champion a run for the money. So I'm gonna get there. Like I'm dead set on getting there. And nothing's gonna stop me. And if who knows? Maybe I gain 10 pounds and go up against Kratos. Maybe I lose 10 pounds and go up against Scorpio Sky. Who knows? I could go for their light heavyweight title, but I I always respect a company that has a prestigious title, and I know that theirs is one that's going to be respected, and who's ever holding it is going to have all eyes on them. So trust me, your goal is one of mine. I got my eyes set on that title, so I'm going to be watching the title tournament very closely if I'm not in it.
And then also, I want to see you, and then again, see you with the wrestler you mentioned. But again, I want to see you versus Thatcher.
All right. Well, there's definitely me and him have crossed paths, you know, all up and down California or Vegas. So we've seen each other. We've shared locker rooms. So it's just a matter of it getting booked. I'm coming for you, Thatcher. You can wrestle me all day, but it's not gonna help you when I kick you in the face.
And then if I'm going to upload this, I'm going to send it to PCW. It's like, hey, I'm giving you ideas with Hammerstone, who he wants to wrestle these guys, Thatcher. I want Thatcher. And then you want Cage. It's like either way, whoever you wrestle, like it's gonna be a great match.
There's, like I said, there's such a big talent pool in wrestling right now that there's 20 potential matchups that are all going to be great, and I'm looking forward to all of them. But those two guys that you just mentioned are definitely on that list. So I'm excited. This is it's been a good year in wrestling for me, and I feel like it's going to just let's keep this momentum going. So hell yeah.
Especially with Mikey, with the promoter and booker for PCW, bringing these talented wrestlers out from foreign lands and California and Arizona, like you and Graves, two guys from Arizona, like bringing into all these great wrestlers and competing.
Yeah, they've got an eye for talent that's we could use more people that are actively searching and bringing in talent into the same place like that. So
All right. Well, sorry. Well, Alexander Hammerstone, thank you for being on my podcast, and hopefully the viewers can see more of your matches on YouTube or see your lifestyle on Instagram or Facebook or your other social medias.
hell yeah. All right,
Um,
I had a great time. Thank you very much for having me.
well, thank you, Hammerstone.
All right, take care, bud.
You too.